Seriously Sinister discusses true petty crimes that may be disturbing to some.
Or it could be easy listening to all of you psychopaths out there.
Names and places have been changed to protect the hosts legally.
Listener discretion is not advised. Seriously Sinister.
Welcome to Seriously Sinister. When you tell your kid the Oreos went bad, but you know you're lying through your black-stained teeth. This is Trevin, and I am joined by my good friend, Kayla.
Hello.
Hello, Kayla.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Appreciate the introduction.
Yeah, I'm glad that you are filling in this week for Amanda.
Well, I'm glad I got to fill in.
And do you have a dreadful dilemma this week?
I do. My dreadful dilemma is Chris Pratt.
Okay. What's Chris Pratt doing to you?
So I don't know how he got started on watching Jurassic World, but my oldest child is 4, and she is now obsessed with Jurassic World. And we watch a movie before bed every night. And
Oh, I want your life.
and it has been Jurassic World every single night
Oh.
for like 2 months. Okay, I guess I did get a break from Jurassic World. I told her that Chris Pratt was in Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 2. So then we got to see that over and over and over for several weeks. And guess what? Her favorite scene of Chris Pratt in Guardians of the Galaxy is the shower scene.
Oh.
Because he gets dirty instead of getting clean in the shower.
Oh.
So that worried her father for just a minute when she said...
So she just loves Chris Pratt,
She
not so
is
much...
obsessed. Yeah, we tried to get her to watch Jurassic Park because, way better. And Jeff Goldblum, need I say more? But yeah, she's like, is my guy in it? I'm like, no, it came out way before your guy was a thing. And she's like, I'm not watching this.
Damn.
So now I get to watch Jurassic World for the rest of my life.
Have you tried to watch Parks and Rec with her?
I have not, but I just have a DVD player up in my room. I've got a really lame setup. I've probably got the lamest setup of anyone in the Is this the 21st century still?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Yeah.
Time's not flying that fast.
No, okay, good. Yeah, no, I just have a DVD player and a tiny TV, and that's what we watch a movie on.
I mean, I guess you could just go through and find all of his filmography on DVD. I'm sure you can find them all pretty cheap. Yeah.
She really likes the dinosaurs and asks questions about the dinosaurs that she knows are going to die
Dinosaurs
every single time.
And goons and monster things.
Yeah, and she just likes watching her guy, Chris Pratt. So that's my dilemma. It could be worse, but...
That's a young first celebrity crush, though.
I know, I'm impressed. Like, I'm not a bad one. She chose well.
Who was your first celebrity crush?
Ooh, good question. It was probably like a Disney character. It was probably like Prince Eric or something.
Okay. I know you always loved Harrison Ford, but I didn't know if that was later.
So like when you were like really crushing and knew what that meant, like Harrison Ford, and he still holds that title to this day.
Yeah, good looking man. I think as a young kid, it was probably Kate Winslet.
Hell yeah, she's gorgeous.
Yeah, and she still is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, Titanic was a big one for me.
I mean,
My oh my.
the car scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The drawing scene.
Oh yes.
Anyway, we got to get going.
Okay, let's get going.
So my dreadful dilemma this week is I hate when people say, "How are you?" to say hello.
Mm-hmm.
How are you is a question. It is not a greeting.
True.
Now, I say this because I don't care if you want to greet somebody and say, "Hey, how are you?"
Mm-hmm.
Be prepared for an answer.
Yeah.
If I say, "Hey, how are you?" and I don't say that's to just anybody because I don't generally care how people are.
That is also true.
But if you're a person that I care about how you're doing, I'll say, "Hey, how are you?" And I expect you to say terrible or awesome or whatever. And then maybe I can build a conversation off of that. Nothing drives me more crazy when I'm walking into work and somebody comes up to me and says, "How are you?" And I'll be like, "Oh, I'm good." And they're just like still walking. I'm like, "Oh, you don't give a shit, do you?"
They don't.
Thanks. You realize you asked me a question? That's what you did? Like you started a interaction and you just walked out of it.
Yeah, that would be annoying.
Yeah, it's only because I love the art of conversation so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it would be really rude because I have an issue with feeling guilty if I hurt somebody's feelings or do something wrong. And so if somebody is trying to start a conversation with me and I walk off, I'll feel bad looking back and be like, oh, second appraisal, what did I do?
Mm-hmm.
But if they ask me, hey, how are you? I can't just be like, oh, I assume they don't actually care how I am. That's just how they say hi. And then I don't say anything.
Yep.
And then I look like an asshole. So I always answer the question and then realize you don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of those English language things like that just really, really grind my gears. But that's one that's really big for me because there's just so many people at my work that's how they say hi.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have to keep that in mind when I'm trying to converse with somebody or just greet them, I guess. Do I really care?
Most people probably don't actually care as much as I do, but it really just gets to me.
I feel you. I kind of use that at my doctor's office where I work. I say, how are you? And they're coming in with a broken leg. So probably not the best question.
And do they answer you?
They're like, it could be better.
Yeah, I used to do that with my chiropractor all the time. He would always say, how are you? And I would say, oh, not too bad. And that was a situation where I probably shouldn't have answered him because then there's a long pause where it's like, so what do you want?
Right. Well, why are you here?
Yeah, it's like, well, in the art of conversation,
money,
I thought you were just wanting to know how I was doing. And,
yeah.
And it's okay. It's how I'm doing. So as I've been doing in this Seriously Sinister and Friends phase I'm going through without Amanda, I am doing this thing called Get to Know Your Host.
We got ways of making you talk.
And so my hosts so far have been podcasters. And you are not a podcaster.
Not at all. Not at all, sir.
Kayla is one of my oldest friends, probably third oldest or so.
Oh.
Not by age, but by age of friendship.
Right.
You're still a young lady.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
We usually take a second to say like, oh, tell me about your show so we can plug it and whatnot. But I'll just say Kayla and I have known each other since probably we were 14?
14. I'd say
yeah,
14. Yep.
I was growing up and my mom for some reason thought I was going to be a problem child. I don't really know why. I'm not like, I'm rebellious in the ways that I don't like rules that I don't understand, but I'm not the kind of person who is just like, I'm going to break your shit or I'm going to steal from you. I'm not that kind of rebellion.
No, not Trevin.
No. And so my mom said, you got to go to church. And that's actually where I met Kayla and her husband, Zach. And I've known them both for such a long time now.
Mm-hmm.
And
long time.
Yeah, I was sent there to be a better kid, and I think these people made me worse. So
we made you worse.
I meant in a more fun way, of course.
Your mom loves me.
Yes, my mom does love you. So yeah, I met her in church. When I finally met Amanda, I said, oh, Kayla, you need to meet Amanda. You both remind me of each other, but in like different ways.
Yeah.
I think of, I don't know how to explain it. Like Amanda is Superman and you are Batman.
All right, I'm Batman.
Yeah, like
I'm totally down for that.
You're more of the sarcastic brooding, and then she's like the bubbly happy.
Okay, yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Definitely not the bubbly happy.
Yeah, you're both like the yin and the yang, and that's very fun. And now you're both moms of 2 kids.
Yes.
And there's just a lot of similarities, and I've got you two to meet.
Yeah.
And Amanda's had you at a few parties, and she's
They're
taken
always
pictures
great.
of your family. Yeah, Kayla's been a part of some of the famous murder mystery parties.
Mm-hmm. A girl knows how to throw a murder mystery.
Yeah. Oh, man, you should see the packaging on those that she puts together.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
They look so official and cool.
Heck yeah, they do. It's Amanda.
So what I've been doing with my co-host is I've been saying, hey, Amanda and I have been hosting a show together for 59 episodes, and everybody knows everything about Amanda, but nobody knows that much about you except for what I just said. So we have to fast forward through getting to know you in 59 episodes, but in like 2 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So I got to ask you the hard-hitting questions.
Okay.
So
let's go.
My first question is, Amanda wants to know, do you think you're better than me?
Absolutely not. No, why would you ask that? I love you.
Okay, that's a good starter. That's what I have to ask
Did she
everybody.
really ask that?
Actually, it was my idea to say.
Okay.
To say Amanda said it. But then she loved it when I told her I was going to say that for her.
I bet she did. She probably had a great booming laugh.
Yes. If you had to be a member of any cult, which would you choose?
Cult.
I don't know how well
God,
you know cults.
I don't know cults very well. I'm just going to say Marilyn Manson because I know no other cults.
Well, he's a artist.
What? Oh, Marilyn. Wait.
Charles Manson.
Charles Manson. Marilyn Manson. Yep, Charles Manson. We'll go with him.
Okay. What's your most embarrassing talent?
I don't have any talents. Oh, I used to be able to jiggle my eyes.
Oh, I've known people that
I
could do
can't.
that.
I don't think I've done it in years, so I probably can't do it anymore. But like they like vibrate,
Mm-hmm.
like really weird, like an alien.
How do you just like flex all the muscles in your
Yeah, I
head and
flex
your
them. And then-
eyes vibrate? I've known people like that.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's weird.
And I guess we'll just go one more.
Okay.
How do you handle embarrassment?
I'm usually just laughing at myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll cry in a corner, brood about it.
Yeah.
In my cave.
You're not one of those people that just like lash out angrily and just
Oh
like,
no, I probably do
quit
that
looking
too.
at me.
Oh no. Okay, don't do that.
Okay.
No, I might be angry at myself, but I don't lash out at other people.
Yeah, I internalize it. I play it cool enough to where people don't notice that I'm like
Yeah.
bothered by it, but then I'm just like, I'll go freak out about this later.
Beat myself up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'll remember this when I'm brushing my teeth tonight.
Exactly. And you just stare in the mirror and
Okay, so I would say that those totally gave everybody everything they need to know about you.
I think so. We've covered it all.
Yeah, people could write your memoirs now.
Yeah. Bring it on.
So now we're going to get on to the regularly planned segment.
Okay.
And today I'm going to be playing trivia.
Whoa, Trevin. We do not have the rights to say that.
Let's have a fun time.
My body's ready.
So I tried to do something that related to you. I was trying to do some J.R.R. Tolkien
Oh,
things. I couldn't find
okay.
anything that I liked enough, so you don't
Oh.
get that.
Oh, okay.
But when you were in high school, you did play saxophone,
Oh, God. Yeah, I guess.
and I know you love it. It's your favorite thing. It's something that you've carried into your adulthood that I know you're still a big fan of, so I don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
why I picked this subject. So my question is, besides inventing the saxophone in the 1840s,
Okay.
Adolph Sax gained the nickname Little Sax the Ghost. Why? Is it A, he had a long string of near-death experiences? B, he claimed that he could speak to the dead? Or C, not long after his death, new notes and drawings would continue to be discovered in his workshop?
Oh, God. What was his nickname again?
Little Sax the Ghost.
C?
So you're going to go C, that after he was dead, new notes and drawings came up in his workshop?
Yeah. That seems the most ghostly.
And you're incorrect.
Ah, shit. All right. That's okay.
He had a long string of near-death experiences.
Okay.
And I will share with you...
Just exactly what those experiences were?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. I'm interested.
He fell from 3 stories and hit his head on a stone and was believed to be dead.
Gosh.
And this was at the age of... when he was a child.
Ugh.
At the age of 3, he drank a bowl full of acidic water, mistaking it for milk.
What the fuck?
He later swallowed a pin.
How do you swallow a pin?
I don't know. I kind of feel like he's not that smart either.
No.
He received serious burns from gunpowder explosion.
What?
He once fell onto a hot cast iron frying pan face first.
Oh my God.
Several times he avoided accidental poisoning and asphyxiation from sleeping in a room where varnished furniture was drying.
Okay.
And then they say there was another time where he was struck on the head by a cobblestone and fell into a river.
Oh, jeez. The universe had it out for this guy. I don't think they wanted the saxophone to be a thing.
No. So Little Sax the Ghost was actually a nickname from his mother because he had so many near-death experiences. There was even like a quote where the quote that she said was, "He's a child condemned to misfortune. He won't live."
That is so depressing.
Yeah, that's literally the quote of his mother.
Oh, God.
But he did. Apparently he was really creative, and he was one of the few people that made like a clarinet out of ivory or something, and people
Oh.
said that is not an easy thing to do. And he
Wow.
invented the saxophone and all these different types of saxophone things. But he ended up patenting it, and once the patent went on it, then people started doing knockoff versions of it, and then he didn't make any money.
Oh,
From what I had read, he died penniless. So,
that's so sad.
but at least he survived all of those
He
near-death
did.
experiences.
I don't know if that was worth it. Maybe those knocks on the head and acidic bowls of water really brought about the genius in him, I guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you need your kids to
Oh,
do
just-
things a little better,
Maybe just shove them down a couple of stairs,
Mm-hmm.
just help them on their way.
find you some cobblestone.
Get cobbles. Fly out of- Okay.
Yeah.
All right, world.
All right. So this week we are doing things a little different than our old different because this week I had a guest story come in from an ex-NYPD cop
Oh.
named Vic Ferrari.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
Is that really his name?
I think so.
That's amazing. Okay.
He is a retired NYPD cop who became an author, and he writes comedy books about his past. So instead of Kayla telling a story, I will tell a story, and then we together will present Vic's story.
Vic Ferrari.
And then we will find our connections as always and go on. But Kayla actually gets an easy job today. She does not have to tell a story.
Yay. He's taking it easy on me.
Yeah. So this week, I'm going to tell a story that I think this is something that will strike fear in the heart of anyone listening.
Okay.
It is definitely an attack on one of our most beloved first world things that we use a lot. And
probably then.
yeah, it's much like, Psycho made the shower scary.
Yep.
I'm about to change everything you thought you knew about blank, but I'm going to wait.
Oh, you're going to wait.
until
Okay,
the story
surprise.
brings it up.
Got it. Okay.
So buckle up, people. And here we go. Have you ever performed a good deed? It felt pretty good, didn't it? There's a certain power that can come from knowing that you brighten someone's day. Just like crimes, no matter how big or small, they all count. From something as simple as complimenting someone's new haircut,
Nice mullet, Dad.
to a larger act, like helping someone move. They can all leave a person feeling loved and cared for. And if you aren't completely heartless, you may just find the feeling of giving to be a little addicting yourself. Seeing the smile on someone's face or feeling their sense of appreciation can really give you a sense of purpose. Wow, I did that, you may say to yourself, after watching an old woman's tears of joy, after you wrestled her army of cats and took them to the vet for her. It's enough to make you wonder why you don't do this more often. In fact, we should all do this more. Spread joy like you spread butter on an English muffin. Get it all up in every nook and cranny. That's how you lead a more delicious life. It's important to always remain selfless in these situations. You can't do good deeds hoping that there is some kind of unspoken reward that follows your kind act. Before making the decision towards helping another, you must make an agreement with yourself that the only thing you get in return is the feeling of making another happy. You don't want to be the person who cuts your neighbor's yard randomly and then starts harassing them for money.
You owe me money, bitch.
That is not neighborly. I recently performed a good deed of my own. In the act of moving twice last year, I realized that I had a lot of collectible Captain America things. My mom loves to buy Christmas presents throughout the year, whenever an item inspires her. So she will buy something and hold it in a special place for months, before stuffing a stocking or wrapping it for the big day. Over the years, I have received some very interesting Captain America and Marvel memorabilia. I've gotten graphic chamois cloths, a creepy stress ball of Captain America's face, multiple masks, and so much more. Most people would think that I am a child with a lot of the interesting knickknacks that I get. But there comes a time where you realize you can't hold on to all of it. I decided to package up a lot of these things and give them to Emily's nephew. Since I met the kid, he has always had a lot of Batman and different superhero things. I figured he would get some use out of them. I packaged up a Captain America mask, a shield that also acts as a frisbee, and that creepy stress ball.
You're someone else's problem now. You'll never be rid of me.
Still to this day, when he is allowed to bring toys to his grandparents' house, he will wear the mask and bring the shield frisbee. I love seeing them get some use, and I love how much of an attachment he has gotten towards them. It just makes me feel good. Today, I will be sharing with you all a little story of good deeds. But we all know that it won't be as simple as lending a friend a tool they don't have when we enter the world of Seriously Sinister. Shannon was a helpful, kind-hearted woman who loved to give more than she takes from this world. She loved giving gifts, always held the door open for others, and would be first to volunteer at her local soup kitchens.
This is my own special recipe.
Kindness was Shannon's currency, and she was very generous with her large fortune. On a beautiful February day, in her home of Orlando, Florida, Shannon woke up bright and early with the intention of spreading happiness. She took a bottle of water to her apartment complex's groundskeeper. She walked her grandma's dog, and when she felt a little tired from the morning's festivities, she paid for the order behind her as she got her coffee from Starbucks.
Just paying it forward.
It was the perfect Saturday. For a little extra karma points, Shannon loved to have her lunch in the local park, just to see if she could find any other person in need. You can always go for a second helping of helping, Shannon would always tell herself. It took Shannon ordering 3 different hot dogs from the park's hot dog stand before getting one for herself, because she kept seeing people who looked hungrier than her.
Jesus, lady, why don't you just buy the whole park a hot dog?
Her lunch was worth the additional $15 in charges. After all, nothing was more filling than acts of goodwill. As she munched away at her large vegan dog with extra sweet relish, the kindest of the condiments, she looked over her favorite park. There were children playing, joggers running with their dogs, and hippies playing frisbee.
This is a totally transcendent experience.
It was utterly peaceful, and she loved every second of it. While taking in all of the lovely scenes, she saw a young boy running towards her, looking distressed. "Are you okay, young man?" Shannon asked. The young boy stopped next to her, huffing, and looking a little shook up. "I've lost my family and friends, and my phone is dead," the boy said. "Can I borrow your phone to get a hold of them?" Shannon jumped at the opportunity for a little extra credit on her day of giving. "Why, certainly," Shannon exclaimed. She pulled out her phone, unlocked it, and handed it to the lost boy. As the boy brought up her Google Maps to see exactly where he was, Shannon stared off into the sky, just thinking about how happy that boy will be when he's finally reunited with his family.
Mommy, I found you!
Oh my god, this is the greatest day of my life!
"All because of me," she said softly to herself. The boy handed the phone back to Shannon and thanked her for help, just before running off into the direction of his family. She watched as he disappeared out of sight, as she wiped the sweet relish from her lips and decided to head home. On her way back home, she let multiple people merge in front of her, and even told a person at a stoplight that they left their gas tank open.
Thank you, kind lady.
No matter where she was or what she did, she always found an opportunity to do good. Once back at home, she ran herself a hot bath and began to relax. Her feet hurt from walking the dog, and her hands were calloused from sweeping the walking trail at the park. "All in the name of kindness," she said to herself, while taking a deep, relaxing exhale as she sank into the tub. As she laid in the bathtub, listening to her most friendly Spotify playlist, she was quickly jolted out of her relaxation. A phone notification had harshly interrupted her song. "I wonder what that could be," she said to herself. As she dried off her hand to grab her phone, she looked at the screen and saw a message that left her completely in shock. There, at the top of her phone screen read, "Message from Venmo. Your 2 transactions have successfully gone through." Not remembering any Venmo transactions, Shannon quickly unlocked her phone and went to the Venmo app. Right under today's activity showed 2 different transactions, equaling $3,800. She sank below the water and began to scream bubbles of betrayal. In February of 2022, Shannon Frazier was approached by a 12-year-old boy in the Baldwin Park neighborhood of Orlando, Florida. The boy had explained that his phone was dead and he had lost his friends and family. Attempting to do the right thing and helping the boy, Shannon gave him her phone. The boy used her phone, handed it back, and thanked her. Little did Shannon know that the boy had opened her Venmo app and sent himself 2 transactions, one for $2,000 and the other for $1,800. Contacting Venmo, She found out the account that received her money was created just 30 minutes before her money was stolen. Between Venmo and her bank, she was able to get her money back. The police had been contacted, but at the time of the article, there were no arrests made, nor were the suspects ever found. Venmo had told Shannon that they were aware of the particular scam, but there was not a significant rise in them. Venmo urges all users to either use face recognition or a PIN number to open the app. In under 3 minutes, Shannon had nearly $4,000 stolen from her bank account. Don't be a Shannon. Keep your Cash App secured, and don't use an easy-to-guess PIN number like 6969. My hope in this story is to teach you all 2 things. 1 is to follow the directions that I just gave. Always keep your money apps protected. And 2, you need to be careful who you are kind to. I don't have a foolproof way of doing this, but these scammers are really out here preying on your kindness. As the world changes and gets more technological, so do our criminals. Your capitalistic job may be stuck in the past, not evolving with the world, but I can guarantee you that crime is finding ways to progress. So maybe you should start carrying a 3-page waiver and ink pad on you at all times, so you can have someone give a fingerprint and signature before using your phone. Or you could take a cue from the podcast My Favorite Murder and fuck politeness.
Ooh, I'll be bitch slapping a 12-year-old boy. I just tell you. It doesn't have to be a boy, though.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty realistic that somebody would do that to somebody. I mean, I have my Venmo, I do the thumb thing to get into mine.
I don't even know what I've got on mine. Now I'm going to go check because that ain't cool.
Yeah, you need some sort of a secondary way of getting into it. Like my bank app, I think I have to do the thumb for the bank app too. But anything with money, it's like, it's more than just getting the phone unlocked. Because I mean, yeah, you can just unlock your phone and say, here, friend, use my phone to make a call.
That story just stressed me out.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Yes.
See what I mean? Psycho scared you of the shower. I just made you a little afraid of Venmo. And
I'm
little boys in the
never
park.
letting anyone use my phone.
No.
Not even little boys at the park.
Yeah, not Eowyn when she wants to watch her man.
Yeah. They bought some stuff off Xbox Live because, you know.
Just pushing buttons?
You just pushing buttons. We got it back, but still.
That's good.
Yeah.
I imagine that's probably pretty common.
Oh, yeah. They're like, oh, this happens every day. Here's your $50 back.
Every business that has online purchasing should have, like, if you call the number, it's like, oh, press 4 if you're a parent who had a fucking kid do their shit again.
I'm sure they do. Like, they should, for sure.
Why waste the time of somebody who actually is like, oh, I can help your problem? It's somebody who says, oh, my shit got shipped to this person. They're holding it ransom and stuff like that. And then, you know, that's something for an experienced customer service person.
True. This is true.
But it's like, oh, a kid just did. Okay, I can reverse.
Yeah, here you go.
Yeah, that should be like a first day, or the people are on their first week or whatever. It's like, oh, you just man the kid calls.
Yeah, these are easy, but they probably had like an ass load of them, though.
Yeah.
They're probably going to be the busiest new person at the job.
But at least they're easy to fix.
That's true. That's true. Now I'm checking my Venmo. Do I have a fucking Face ID? I don't. Okay, I'm not on my Venmo. Okay. On my bank, yes. I'm not on my Venmo, so I'm getting one of those.
You could have been a Shannon.
I could have. I don't want to be a Shannon.
No, and I know you have kids, so you probably spend a lot more time in the park.
Yeah, I do.
See?
Yep.
You ain't going to catch me slipping in a park.
Yeah, I'll be like, what's the number? I'll call them for you. We'll put them on speakerphone.
Yeah.
I don't trust you.
I also find it odd. Even the Shannon lady said in an interview, she said, oh, I saw him open up the maps. And I'm like, what kind of a lost kid is like, where am I exactly? And opens up maps.
Yeah.
They said that he did call somebody as well, which I don't know if they ever did anything with that number. It could have been a burner phone, I guess.
Oh,
but
that's a smart fucking 12-year-old. You got a burner phone.
Yeah. I would have been a little weirded out. Just, a kid's using maps to make sure he's in the right spot. What?
Wait a minute, brain.
Yeah, I don't know.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I know adults that wouldn't even be able to read a map.
I mean, I can.
Yeah.
I don't think.
No, I mean, it's not
Never
that
really
easy.
tried.
You know, he doesn't drive, so he wouldn't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Poor Shannon.
So that was my story of Venmo horrors.
It was a horror. Like I said, stressing me out now. Sweating a little bit.
So are you ready for our second story, The Guest of Vic Ferrari?
I am very ready for Vic Ferrari. That is a fantastic name.
All right. Well, he's got a little bit of an intro, and we will plug his books in the show notes, and enjoy his story.
Thank you. You as well.
Hi, I'm retired NYPD detective turned author Vic Ferrari. And on this week's episode of Seriously Sinister Podcast, I'd like to tell a story from my new book, NYPD Disorder, from the chapter entitled Embarrassing Moments. Writers love painting themselves as the heroes. They see every angle, deliver the witty retort, and save the day in the nick of time. It's their ball, their game, and their tale to tell as they see fit. The rest of you are just along for the ride. Try remembering that the next time you're reading the morning paper, because this wonderful perk, authors conveniently omit embarrassing moments that occurred along their journey. No one likes being embarrassed, including yours truly. Unfortunately, it happens to all of us from time to time. Every situation is different, but for the most part, there are 3 basic ways to handle an embarrassing faux pas. You can ignore your predicament like a well-groomed politician, pretending nothing had happened.
I've never made a mistake in my life.
You can die of embarrassment, roll up in the fetal position, and wait for it to pass like a 24-hour case of diarrhea. Or you can roll with your dilemma and laugh your ass off. All of us have had an embarrassing moment in public. Everything from exiting a public restroom with a tail of toilet paper attached to your shoe to walking around with your fly open has left all of us vulnerable from one time or another. It's how we deal with these embarrassing moments that define our personality. No one understands this better than cops. That's because once you throw on a police uniform and walk out of the station house, society watches your every move. Cops are well aware of this phenomenon and act accordingly. You won't catch a cop swearing, farting, or picking their nose in public. The irony is we all do these things, but expect men and women in blue to be different. The reality is cops are just hard-working, everyday people with a job to do. During my 20-year run with the NYPD, I had my share of embarrassing moments. In my other books, I've covered in great detail my not-so-finer moments, whether it was the time I farted next to a supervisor while attempting to provide a urine sample, or mistaking a breast pump for an antique telephone.
Yeah, I'd like to order some milk.
I too have had my fair share of awkward situations. How I dealt with these embarrassing moments during my NYPD career is up for you to decide. Attorneys love tossing around cliches during court proceedings, subliminally planting seeds in the jurors' minds in hopes they take root. The evidence will show. Isn't it true? This is a miscarriage of justice, or pulled out like cheap parlor tricks during trial. My personal favorite, hostile work environment, means an employee is created or is responsible for a toxic environment that's impossible to work in. Whoever came up with that little ditty must have worked as a cop in the Bronx. Having lived and worked in New York City for my entire NYPD career, I have concluded that the Bronx is a thankless place to work. Now, that's not to say there aren't many decent, hardworking people living in New York City's only landlocked borough. But there are those who, for their own selfish reasons, refuse to help the police for often political reasons. Imagine working in an environment surrounded by people who hate you. Rude comments, dirty looks, and the endless parade of go fuck yourself is what the average Bronx cop endures daily.
Hey, you stink, cop.
It's how you deal with this hostility that defines you as a person. One late winter afternoon, my partner and I circled the precinct waiting for our shift to end. A gypsy cab passed in the opposite direction. Seated in the back seat of the large four-door sedan were 3 men. "Hey, Billy, make a U-turn," I asked. "What's up?" he replied. "I think that maroon gypsy cab is getting robbed," I responded. "What makes you say that?" Billy asked. "One of the passengers is hanging over the seat with his arm around the driver," I replied. As soon as Billy made that U-turn, the gypsy cab took off at a high rate of speed. "Jesus Christ, you might be right," Billy replied as the unlicensed taxi began blowing through red lights down Broadway. As Billy gave chase, weaving in and out of traffic, tapping the siren, I switched on the emergency lights. After several blocks, the cab slammed on the brakes, causing us to almost plow into the back of the beat-up shitbox. Pistols drawn to our sides, Billy and I exited the radio car while slowly approaching the cab's rear. As I slid up to the passenger's door, I saw 3 young men in the back seat frantically passing around a large brown shopping bag.
You take it. No, you.
Nobody seemed to want the square package, as it was being tossed around like a hot potato. What the hell are they doing? I thought to myself while moving closer to the rear window. Now with a bird's eye view, I could see the newly ripped shopping bag contained several kilos of cocaine. After watching the spectacle unfold, Billy and I opened the cab's rear doors and began handcuffing the cocaine cowboys.
I'm innocent.
After the dust had settled, I reached into the back and recovered 4 kilos of cocaine. I was on top of the world. For a patrol cop to make an exceptional arrest like this was like winning the Super Bowl. The feeling of pride you get bringing something unusual into a station house is unexplainable. A year earlier, my partner and I had arrested a 16-year-old carrying a fully automatic Mach 10 45 caliber machine gun. This 3-hombre 4-kilo collar easily dwarfed last year's arrest. As my partner and I started processing the arrest, every cop inside the busy station house stopped by to check out the large bricks of cocaine. "Holy shit, where did you find this?" they asked as I weighed the bricks on a triple beam scale. Soon a couple of detectives from the narcotics division arrived to debrief my prisoners. For several minutes they spoke to the three amigos in Spanish, trying to get them to cooperate. Almost immediately, a shyster attorney from Lower Manhattan called the precinct.
"Hey, anybody looking for a dirty lawyer?"
Not offering who paid his retainer, the plea peddler politely informed me he was representing the three defendants and they would not be making statements at this time. Whoever is expecting the large shipment of cocaine had taken out an insurance policy. By hiring an attorney, they ensured the arrest would not come back to haunt them. Each kilo weighed 2.5 pounds and was stamped with the words RoboCop in blue ink. Now, cocaine is smuggled into the United States the same way Amazon ships a hemorrhoid cushion from their fulfillment center in Chicago to your grandfather's front door.
It came.
Amazon parcels have a UPC tracking barcode stamped on their packages before leaving the warehouse to ensure quality control. In the drug world, every kilo of cocaine or heroin has a brand name written with a Sharpie across the side before they're shipped from a stash house to a customer. RoboCop. I've seen that brand name before, one of the narcotics detectives noted. "Yeah, I remember that brand from a cartel stash apartment on Girard Avenue," his partner replied. Normally, narcotics evidence is stored at the precinct property locker until the property clerk decides to get his lazy ass down to the lab. Not taking any chances with the large cocaine seizure, my administrative lieutenant and integrity control officer personally delivered the 4 kilos to the lab after I completed my paperwork. After all the photographs and hoopla, it was time to head down to Bronx Criminal Court, where I would meet with an assistant district attorney to file charges. After finding a parking spot on Sherman Avenue, I began to get hungry. Across the street from Bronx Criminal Court was a newly built shopping center filled with stores and restaurants. I decided to check out the new mall and grab something quick to eat. Well, after the judges are done banging their gavels for the day, the Bronx courthouse area becomes a ghost town. Wanting to get out of Dodge before darkness falls, the Grand Concourse area can be quite rough after dark. Cops, criminals, and district attorneys all agree to call it a day by 5 p.m. By then, businesses catering to the criminal justice system have rolled down their graffiti-laden steel gates. After entering the newly opened plaza, I began sampling bourbon chicken slivers served by an Asian woman wandering around the food court. I wasn't feeling the bourbon, so I settled on Sabreo's Italian eatery known for their delicious pizza. Wanting to celebrate my 4-kilo collar, I ordered a chicken parmesan dinner served with a side of spaghetti. Sabreo's was a great treat over the usual greasy hamburger and oily soaked fries from the diner up the street. After grabbing a soda and a few napkins, I sat alone in the brightly lit food court and quietly began eating my dinner while reflecting on the arrest. Just as I was finishing my Italian cuisine, my stomach began to rumble. Now, throughout my adult life, I've always had problems with my stomach. If I'm nervous, overeat, there's a lunar eclipse, I gotta go. Between the action-packed arrest and chicken parmesan, I was batting 2 for 3. I should really hit the head, I thought to myself, as the courthouse bathroom was often filthy and missing toilet paper. The newly opened food court would be a lot cleaner than across the street. Brightly lit, antiseptically clean, the freshly minted restroom was just what the gastroenterologist ordered. After entering the toilet stall, I locked the door, took off my Sam Brown gun belt, and hung it on the hook on the back of the door. Dropping my uniform pants to my knees, I sat on the bowl and prepared for liftoff. Well, I wasn't on the throne for 10 seconds when the bathroom door flew open and all hell broke loose. Banging, kicking, blood-curdling screams instantly filled the cathedral-like lavatory. Suddenly, my porcelain fortress of solitude was transformed into bedlam, with the sounds of running faucets and out-of-control, screaming teenagers. There had to have been several of them, yelling and screaming and roughhousing like wild animals in the large restroom. Now, despite me wearing my NYPD uniform, I was quite vulnerable with my pants down to my ankles. I had better hurry up, I thought to myself, as the bathroom suddenly fell silent. Did they leave? Did they decide to knock it off after noticing a pair of legs beneath the store door? My mind began to race as I went into full panic mode. Just as I was about to lean forward and pull up my pants, I was overcome by a feeling I was being watched. For whatever reason, I decided to look up to the flickering fluorescent lights overhead. When I tilted my head upward, I was face to face with a smiling teenager reaching for my gun belt over the bathroom stall. Jumping from the toilet, I grabbed his shirt collar with one hand, trying to pull my pants up with the other. When I pulled the young punk over the stall wall, I had inadvertently enabled him to latch onto my gun belt. "Holy shit," I yelled, dropping my pants to the floor while punching him in the face over and over again. There are many disadvantages to fighting in a bathroom stall with your pants down to your ankles. You have to overcome the embarrassment and focus on your opponent. After several seconds of intense fighting, I was able to convince the young thug into letting go of my gun belt as it dropped to the bathroom floor. Hell-bent on dragging him over the metal wall, I pulled with all my might, lifting his feet off the toilet from the adjacent stall. Suddenly, his friends burst into the stall and began pulling the young punk back over the wall. The violent battle of tug-of-war lasted for several seconds until I could no longer hold on to his sweaty body. "You motherfucker," I yelled as now the shirtless punk vanished over the stainless steel wall, crashing into his accomplices. While I pulled my pants up and strapped on my gun belt, I could hear the jackal's deafening laughter racing out of the bathroom. Seconds later, disheveled, covered in sweat, I stumbled into the empty food court to find a maintenance worker buffing the tile floor. "Hey, you see a bunch of teenagers run out of the bathroom?" I asked, trying to gain my composure. Barely acknowledging my presence, the hefty, middle-aged Hispanic porter twitched his shoulder while looking to the ceiling long enough to stop his floor polisher. The teens were long gone, and I was shit out of luck. Now, what was I supposed to do at this point? Call the police? I could see myself trying to explain what transpired to a couple of precinct cops while they laughed their asses off at me.
You poop!
I'd be the laughing stock of the Bronx if I went that route. Sometimes you gotta accept the fact that you fucked up and move on. And despite my 4-kilo bathroom brawl, my night was far from over. I still had to walk across the street and speak to the district attorney about my arrests. So later that evening, while sitting around the Bronx District Attorney's office complaint room, a young female prosecutor walked over with a folder in her hand. "Officer Ferrari," she asked as the room quickly fell silent as I rose from my chair. There was no friendly hello. "I'm District Attorney Smith. I'll be writing up your case today," as she promptly turned and exited the room, expecting me to follow. "Watch her. She's not cop friendly," said a detective sitting next to me as I followed her back to her cubicle. For the next several minutes, the young district attorney robotically asked the standard pedigree questions before getting to the main course. When it came time to discuss the meat and potatoes of my case, she became combative. "How do you know those packages contain cocaine?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "Excuse me?" I replied. "Did you test the contents of the packages?" she smugly asked. "Of course I didn't test them," I replied. "Then how do you know they're cocaine?" she asked. I stared back in amazement. The aloof district attorney couldn't be serious. In the early 90s, the NYPD didn't field test narcotics evidence. It was sent to the lab. As a district attorney prosecuting cases daily, she had to know the NYPD's lab procedure. "Are you kidding me?" I asked. "No, I'm not," she coldly replied. There was often an uncomfortable relationship or Cold War-like atmosphere between the NYPD members and the Bronx District Attorney's Office. Neither trusted each other, and for good reason. Some of the ideological assistant district attorneys viewed the police as the enemy or oppressors of the people. If you didn't know any better, you'd swear they were playing defense attorney for the defendants they were tasked to prosecute. From time to time, I would run into a liberal prosecutor who believed they had been dropped behind enemy lines and it was their duty to sabotage the criminal justice system.
For justice!
Well, I have probable cause to believe it's cocaine by the packaging. Each brick weighed 2.5 pounds or a kilo. And 2 narcotics detectives confirmed the brand name stamped on the packages is from a Colombian cartel, I replied. "Yeah, but you don't know what's inside those bricks," she snapped back. "Look, if I step outside and the ground is wet, I can surmise it rained despite not seeing the rainfall," I countered. "Well, couldn't you poke a hole in the bricks to see what was inside?" she smugly asked. "Poke a hole in them? What would I use to poke a hole in a kilo of cocaine?" I replied. "Perhaps a straw," she countered sarcastically. "A straw? What planet are you from?" I asked. Let me stop here for a second to explain how the NYPD thinks. Had I punched holes in 4 kilos of cocaine to see what was inside, I would have gotten suspended on the spot. And who can blame them? Now, don't get me wrong. I love every minute of parading around the station house with 4 kilos of cocaine in my hands like I was holding the Stanley Cup. but after all the photographs and congratulations, I couldn't wait to get them out of the station house. Call me naive, but I honestly believe 95% of the NYPD would never steal a thing. However, when you leave large sums of money and drugs lying around, that 5% is vulnerable to temptation. If God forbid something happened to the cocaine, I would have been fucked. If somehow those bricks opened, or inexplicably were lost or stolen, I would have lost my job. What honest cop in their right mind is going to fuck around with 10 pounds of coke? As soon as I prepared my narcotics voucher, my administrative lieutenant and integrity control officer couldn't wait to get that large seizure of coke out of the station house, personally delivering it to the lab. Having it laying around the station house was a liability. Poking holes in it would have been insanity. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Madame Curie was either trying to get me fired or get the case thrown out before it reached arraignment. It was time to go over her head. "I'd like to speak to your supervisor," I calmly asked. Taking off her glasses, the liberal district attorney looked at me upside down with a look of disgust. Channeling her inner bitch, the recent law school graduate took a deep breath, rose from her chair, and stormed out of her cubicle with my arrest folder. I had pushed the bitch button all right, and there was no turning back. It's usually never a good move to go over someone's head, especially when, in all probability, you're going to have to work with them again. You have to pick your spots. Calling bullshit and asking for a supervisor was a bold move. If this was a garden variety drug arrest, and she wanted to reduce the charges or toss the case for technicality, I wouldn't have said a word. But this was 4 kilos of cocaine, and I was going to fight her tooth and nail to ensure this case was prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Several minutes later, Madame Curie returned to the cubicle, placing her folder down and began drilling me with questions about the case. I had delivered a direct hit to the Death Star, and there wasn't a goddamn thing she could do about it. It was quite clear her supervisor didn't see the need to tamper with 10 pounds of Colombian cocaine while the pissed pettifogger looked for other angles to dismiss my case. When it was all said and done, my stomach eventually felt better, and the contemptuous prosecutor finally wrote up my 3 ombre 4-kilo collar. Several months later, the 3 defendants pled guilty to criminal possession of a controlled substance, receiving a sweetheart deal, if you can believe this, of 3.5 years to life in an upstate New York prison. There's a valuable lesson for rookie cops reading this story. If you ever find yourself in the throes of a mysterious case of diarrhea, never make the mistake of hanging your gun belt on the back of a restroom stall door.
Well, that was quite a story.
I was enraptured by his voice and name.
Yeah, it was so cool hearing... Well, first of all, you're hearing this from a perspective that you've never heard from before, because usually you're getting stuff from podcasters and you're not getting somebody who's actually done the stuff.
Sure, yeah.
And also just the authenticity of his voice. You can tell like he's been
straight
there.
up New York.
There is no questioning it.
Absolutely not.
So it sounds like quite a weird deal. I couldn't imagine some shithead kid trying to reach over, like even if you were like not a cop and like a lady who had your purse on it, like reaching over and trying to steal your shit off the wall.
Invading my privacy while I'm trying to take a shit? That's rude.
Yeah, but just imagine a man with his pants around his ankles just punching a kid in the face repeatedly. Like, it's pretty awesome.
That was... Oh my God. Oh, what a day in a life. I mean, it's impressive.
There's those young kids that, Man and I have talked about it before, where it's like that young teenage where maybe the kid's 16, maybe he's like 14, 15. You remember we were that age? Like we just didn't give a shit about anything, anybody's property. We didn't care. We just made a mess of everything. Like I imagine it was probably something like that, but in a sense, you know, a kid like that probably did need to get punched in the face a couple times.
I don't know if that's necessarily legal, but...
No, well, I mean, I don't know. A kid reaching for a cop's gun in his hand.
If you're reaching for a firearm.
I would imagine if that went to court, it'd be interesting. Somebody could probably argue it pretty well, but I would think, obviously, I
don't think the kid's going to win, unfortunately.
I would side with the cop on that one.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid shouldn't have gun.
The kid shouldn't have gun. You're right.
Kid shouldn't have gun. Thank you.
I rest my case.
Yes. Wow, that was a very Charlie Kelly type thing. So yes, Vic, thank you for sending in your story. I will put his Amazon links in the show notes to get his books. I will also have a social media post for him as well. So yeah, there will be multiple ways to get a hold of him. I don't have the URL to say it right now, but I think it's like a long URL, so I wouldn't want to say it over here anyway. Kayla, do you have any idea how these two stories may connect?
In a very... I don't want to say abstract way, but they both had to do with vulnerability because Shannon really liked to be vulnerable with people and share herself, you know. And, you know, that gave her joy. And then Vic, he did not want to be caught in a vulnerable situation because that's not Gucci.
No.
I mean, they're kind of the opposite, but they both had to do with vulnerability.
Yeah, they both did reach a vulnerable point, and then from there they forked in two different directions.
Exactly. Like the yin and yang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. The vulnerability. I didn't even think about that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I actually edited that story and wrote mine and didn't even think about that when doing it. So, good work.
Thank you. Hair toss.
And I want to thank you for coming on and doing this with me.
Oh, of course. My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, no problem. When I had this coming up and I was thinking about all the people I was going to try to get on, I really wanted to try to get you in here and just give you a chance to I wanted the world to hear you.
Oh, boy. Well, watch out, world.
Yeah, here she come.
Here I come.
And yeah, I just really wanted to have you on there. You were the only non-podcast person that I wanted to have on, and I'm glad that we could make it happen.
You're so sweet.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks. You know, I love your little, you had a chef's kiss hand going on the entire time you were reading your story.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
One day we are going to actually do some video when Amanda and I do this, because with the couple here that I did before they're on Zoom, I was very stiff and kind of holding up my phone and just reading it, but I really do use my left hand.
You do. It's very animated.
Or I'll put my finger up and say, wait. Or I'll do anything like that. Or if I say something like, oh, they slowly brought up, I'll be like, they slowly brought up.
Oh, yes. It's acting out the story. It's like a hand dance.
I actually kind of do that when I come up with sound effects sometimes too. When I'm spacing out the time, where it will say, oh, that person left the room and slammed the door. I will replay it, and in my head, I'll like walk my fingers across, and I'll be like, okay, step.
So it's like a hand symphony.
And slam is where it will go. And when I go back to edit it, I'll add the slams and the timing of where my hands were.
It's like what are those
I'm like
people
a maestro.
called? Composer, yeah.
Or like a composer, yeah.
A composer with your little hand. Your hand's just making it happen.
Yeah, it's just how I visualize it and feel it.
Yeah, you got to feel it.
Yeah,
feel it with
like
that left hand, man.
Every story is like my own muscle memory.
I like it.
Yeah, so
I'm impressed.
Welcome. Welcome to the inside of me. All right.
Oh, God.
So, everybody, thanks for listening. We should have Amanda back next week.
Yay!
So, that will be very exciting. I know you guys have put up with me for 4 weeks without Amanda, and I appreciate you all for hanging in there. Give us 5 stars on Apple or 5 stars on your Spotify if you use it. Good pods, anything else. We just love all the love you can give us, and we will have big announcements coming up soon when Amanda comes back. So, everybody, just remember, no matter the crime, big or small, in the end, we're
all doomed.
We're all doomed. And I had to fuck up my own saying when you had it right. And kids shouldn't have gun.
Kids should not have gun.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Seriously Sinister.
If you have a true petty crime story to share, please email us at seriouslysinisterpodcast@gmail.com or send us a Facebook message.
If you would like to support our show, please subscribe and leave us a 5-star review.
Also, tell your friends about this podcast.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Seriously Sinister Podcast.
And on Twitter at SeriouslySinPod.
Shout out to Trevin for writing all of the original music you hear and for producing our show. Follow him and his music at Fiesta Maiden on SoundCloud, Spotify, and Facebook.
And credit to Miranda Lucas for our awesome logo. You can find her on Instagram at MirandaLucas26.
All stories are written by myself and Trevin, and all stories are based on actual, true petty crimes.
As she munched away at her large...
I'll munch away at your large.
Damn it.
Good one.